Live images right now that are coming in from Japan. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has just touched down there. He has reached Hiroshima in Japan to attend the G7 summit. A crucial meeting. All other world leaders are currently there already. We're getting you these images from Hiroshima of Japan. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is going to be addressing the G7 summit. He's going to in fact start off the day on Saturday morning Indian Standard Time at about 8:30. We're expecting that he will be unveiling a Gandhiji bust in Hiroshima to signal peace in a place that's been ravaged by violence, that's faced the price of war. And after that, he's going to be a part of a series of G7 huddles, G7 meetings. There are also a number of crucial bilaterals that are lined up, including one with the Japanese Prime Minister, Fumio Kishida. There's also a bilateral lined up with the South Korean Prime Minister and also with Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. There will be a lot of focus on this G7 because also on the sidelines of this, Prime Minister Modi is going to be meeting with Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky. That's a very, very important meeting because it's the first one since the war broke out. India and Ukraine, of course, have had several virtual meetings. There have been virtual and telephonic conversations between Prime Minister Modi and Volodymyr Zelensky. But this is the first time that they will be meeting face-to-face since the outbreak of this war. And of course, Ukraine has time and again highlighted and stressed on India playing a very key role in intervening in this war. So this will be one very, very important highlight of this trip as well. But overall, over 6 days, the Prime Minister has a packed schedule because straight from Japan, he heads to Papua New Guinea and then from there to Australia, where there was supposed to be a Quad summit. That's been called off, but the Prime Minister will stick to all the other prior engagements that he had focused on in Australia. So a lot, in fact, that's lined up over the next 6 days. But this particular visit to Japan also is loaded with significance, with symbolism. First, for starters, the fact that he's in Hiroshima, he's going to be laying a wreath at the memorial, as did other world leaders. And after that, he is going to be unveiling a Gandhi bust. Reportedly, he will be accompanied by the Japanese Prime Minister for that particular moment as well. And these are the images that we're getting to you from Hiroshima. The Prime Minister has just deboarded from Air India One there. You can see that he is being greeted by the Indian officials who are present in Japan, besides the state representatives from the Japanese government who are there to welcome the Prime Minister. And while he's touched down later in the evening, tomorrow is going to be a packed day for the Prime Minister. He is going to be also part of several crucial bilaterals where the focus will be on trade. The focus also, very importantly, will be on climate change. This G7 meeting is also one that's being watched out for, considering that the Quad summit in Australia was called off. And the fact that it's happening in Hiroshima, which is reportedly the Japanese Prime Minister's hometown, that also sends across a very clear message. Ukraine, of course, the war is going to be one of the biggest talking points, and with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky also touching down in Hiroshima, it will be interesting to see what are the takeaways of that meeting between Prime Minister Modi and the Ukrainian President. These are live images that we're getting to you from Hiroshima. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has touched down. He's just also gotten into the official car and will be heading into the city where he'll get a bit of rest and then will be on a non-stop series of meetings, bilaterals, and of course is also going to be addressing the G7 summit. As the last few summits have taken place, and in every single case since the Russia-Ukraine war, that will be the biggest talking point. You've got all of the 7 of the world's most powerful democracies, essentially, that have come together right now in Hiroshima. You've got Prime Minister Modi, who will be there for the next 24 hours at least. This is in the hometown of the Japanese Prime Minister, Fumio Kishida. So it will be interesting to see also the photo ops that emerge from there. You already had all the other world leaders present. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, the South Korean Prime Minister is there. You've got also US President Joe Biden and all the other members of the G7 who've already touched down. So the Prime Minister will also be there to go ahead and lay a wreath first at the memorial and unveil the Gandhi bust, as I mentioned as well. We're understanding that there will be a bilateral meeting between Prime Minister Modi and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky Modi on the sidelines of the G7 meeting. Now, also there have been very important takeaways from this particular G7, with the Quad leaders meeting not taking place. All that was to be discussed as far as trade ties are concerned, as far as the scenario with regards to the war is concerned, all of that will come up also in this particular meeting. Earlier, you had leaders of the G7 who were already in Hiroshima going ahead and laying wreaths at the Hiroshima Peace Memorial Park. Prime Minister Modi is also going to be making his way there when he kicks off his official engagements. There have also been several meetings that have already taken place after this. As I mentioned, Prime Minister Modi is going to be making his way to Papua New Guinea, and then he is going to be heading to Australia, where he will be meeting with the Australian Prime Minister. Our Foreign Affairs editor Geeta Mohan is live with us for more details on this. Geeta, images on our screens of the Prime Minister having touched down in Hiroshima. To you, Geeta, what's the most crucial engagement really that he will be a part of in this visit?
Well, from the beginning, the fact that Japan is hosting the G7 in Hiroshima in itself speaks of what the main topic is going to be, owing to the Russia-Ukraine war. Nuclear disarmament is something that the world leaders are going to discuss and talk about. But Akshita, for India, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has already spelt it out that he is going to amplify the voice of the global south. There are concerns with regards to food security, energy security, all of which comes from the fact that there is conflict and war, not just in Russia, Ukraine, but the pulls and pushes of geopolitics across the world that is costing many countries dearly, and the worst sufferers of this are countries from the global south. So Prime Minister Narendra Modi will make a strong pitch for peace, because that peace will bring about some sort of energy and food security, security in development matters. So that's going to be Prime Minister Narendra Modi's agenda in the working sessions which he will be attending as a guest, because India is a guest nation. We've been a guest country since 2003,
yes,
when for the first time Vajpayee was invited, and after which Manmohan Singh attended these summits